Hello, good people. Once again, this is Isaac Mirori. Um, and this time, I'm really focusing on the environmental issues and the debate that is going on in Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt with regard to Cop27. Well, since Sunday, I've been following this up, and prior to the opening of the COP27, I had engaged some activists because I'm a student of environment. And these activists expressed their disappointment across the world on Twitter in how the Egyptian government was barring um, people who could not afford, or rather, they made very expensive for people who had alternative voices against the common narrative that has been perpetuated by uh, the leaders of governments and states, and of course corporates. And so the alternative voices that cry on behalf of human welfare, on behalf of human life, and others who stand in the gap of animals and insects and other living creatures that cannot uh, really speak the human language but suffer from the human activity led natural catastrophe. And so, my opinion to the tweet, or rather the Twitter handle of COP27 and the UNFCCC was just simple. I mean, if you are seeing what the government of Egypt is doing uh, to activists and people who come with a voice of reason, alternative, people who are able to criticize and make your discussions even much more innovative and creative and much better for all of us. You're just part of that, part of just talking and not doing anything. Unfortunately, that's my opinion. Also, this African COP is really not my COP as an African, because Africans have suffered for a long time, and this was an opportunity for the global south, and especially Africa, which suffers the most. The narrative that we've been given by the Western or the European scientists is factual, that Africans only emit less than 4%, to be precise, 3.8%. But we suffer adversely the consequences of global warming. And so, in my opinion, this is not an African COP. We have started on a wrong footing. The African government that is the host does not represent the other African countries, because as the victim of global warming and climate change, we ought to have had a good representation of the poor on the table, discussing with the who is who from the G7 and the G20 and the G70, so that at least the common person who does not get the benefit of flying on an aeroplane, which is a contributor to climate change, who does not get the benefit of driving their own car, which is another contributor to climate change, who does not get the benefit of sleeping in Airbnb and expensive 7-star, 5-star, 6-star, 4-star, 3-star motels, and who does not get the benefit of being recognized to be invited to such conferences, symposiums, and roundtables, and actually have a 3 course or 5 course or 6 course meal, and discussing what we all go through, but what you don't really literally suffer in the same magnitude with those who do not have such opportunities. So all these things are becoming elitist, and it is just saying that the poor people are not needed or wanted in this world. And so for the poor people, what they can do is actually perish quickly and give those who have made it according to the system and the globalized, those who are part of the globalized elite who have achieved and have made it. So if you have not made it, if you've been shortlisted from the modern system of education, you could not move towards the higher level of education. You are cut. If you could not move through the economic system from earning hundreds to thousands to six-figure salaries and above, you're done. Those who have not made it to countries that are able to give proper welfare to their people in terms of health, accessible health, in terms of accessible education, in terms of food security, in terms of tenure of work, and in terms of opportunities, you are done. This is not your COP. You are on the menu. You are part of the people who are just being discussed, and you're part of the figure of an excessive and overpopulated group that is supposed to be controlled, because you're part of the excess baggage that is causing food insecurity, is causing controllable diseases or preventable diseases becoming uncontrollable. So the poor, according to the system, the modern system, are in Africa and in parts of Southern Asia. And these are the people who should be locked out for them to perish, so that those who are who and have made it through the elimination process of the modern systems are supposed to benefit from the resources of this world. It is such absurd and a sorry moment for the world, and especially the poor. This COP is not different from the first one. It is the same as the one that was held in 1995. And it has been promises, twisting and crying. Promises by the developed countries, but they do not commit. Crying by the developing countries, but they still remain the same state regardless of the democratic processes that they go through. Whatever promises of modernity that they've been given, like capitalism and so on and so forth, that they are supposed to change their lives, but they still continue being more poorer. And so I felt very bad the last 2 days, and including yesterday, when my own president was begging Dr. William Samoei Ruto, was begging the West to stop the delay tactics and pay, because actually what was put on was passed as part of the agenda on Sunday was that damages and losses must be paid. And in fact, to make even our hopes even much more linear and smaller, is the fact that some of the developing countries have suggested that the age-long loans that we owe the Europeans should be forfeited and it be counted as part of the commitment of the 100 billion USD that had been promised in France last year and in Glasgow. And so, to add insult, or rather salt, on the wound is when the President of France, His Excellency Emmanuel Macron, decided to make a very derogative statement on the immigrants. We understand. We get many children, unlike our European counterparts. But we don't get them out of hobby. It's part of our culture. You getting few children or no children, or not even getting married, is part of your culture. And so the idea that the overpopulation in Africa is bringing forth desperate population who are not welcomed in Europe, while an African who is suffering today is complaining for one thing. You stole from Africa to be rich. You came to Africa without any notice and prior arrangement with the Africans. Now Africans are swimming, are sailing, are flying to your countries to claim, and every soul that is lost in that endeavor that is not approved is really on your hands. The tears and the sweat of the lost loved ones is on you. Whether you pay or you don't, it's on you. This game has gone on for a long time. Started with the slavery period, coming into colonialism, and today new slavery and new colonialism. In fact, we are becoming immune. But this COP, by the 18th of November, may yield very little. Watch this space. We're going to take us a very short break, and when I come back, I want to lay some facts about climate change and global warming from my little research that I'm doing for my master's project. Thank you. Continue supporting us. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Isaac Mirori, and all social medias, and also visit my website, www.isaacmirori.com. www.imunza.org. See you soon.